change the world. On we go.
Hello friends of the internet, welcome back to Coffee Over Apples. My name is Steph. This is a TBR game for the month of March. I haven't done this in the past 2 months because I read things. I promise I read things, and I have a whole bunch of videos that I've recorded. There's been certain reads which have taken up all of my time the past month because of chunky books. So welcome back. A brief overview, just because this is not the first time that I've done it, but there is a link in the description with the link to the Excel spreadsheet that I made with all of my prompts and also some written directions below. But if you're new here, welcome. Hi, I'm a nerd. I play Magic the Gathering, and this is a game that I made in order to choose what books I'm going to read every month based off of the game. Essentially, I choose 2 cards to joust each other, and what they're battling with is not with their power and toughness first, it is their CMC first, which is their casting cost up here. So 2 cards will fight each other, and the one with the highest CMC will win. There are certain abilities which can be triggered, and those are listed in the Excel sheet as well. Welcome to the playmat. We've got a bunch of cards. They're all kind of random. All relatively from the same set. We're going to pile shuffle. Let's go with round 1. Okay, Breathless Night has flying, which is applicable. So whatever it's going to fight against doesn't matter because it's going to go over it and fight what's next, which is a 2 CMC Goblin and Necromancer, which means that this wins. I could choose between white and black for my die. Let's bring out the dice. It's my kitty tray. I'm gonna remove all the dice from it, except for the one that I want. And in this case, I'm gonna go with white and black. And the options are prompt number 3 or prompt number 4. There are some books that I have to read in March because of my book clubs and things like that. I'm gonna try to fit them into prompts if I can, and if I can't, then these are just wishful thinking. But this roll gave me the option of either a white 3 or a black 4, so I ended up deciding to go with the black 4 just because the stuff that's in the black category are genres that I really enjoy, but also I did a poll pick the last time I did this game, like a couple times now, so I think I'm just gonna go with the weird fiction prompt. And for that, I'm gonna choose something short and sweet, which has been on my TBR for a little while. This is The Strange Library by Haruki Murakami. I haven't read a Haruki Murakami book in a long time. Used to be one of my favorite writers. I don't know if that's still going to be the case here, but it is really tiny, and it is a weird, strange fiction horror about a library. I think it's a horror. It's got about a library. The art is beautiful. The cover opens up like this, which I'm not sure if you can see. It's really cool. And the art inside is awesome. Beautiful cover art. I don't know too much about this, but the back says, a lonely boy, a mysterious girl, and a tormented sheep man plot their escape from the nightmarish library of international acclaim, best-selling Haruki Murakami's wild imagination. I mean, honestly, that kind of just sounds like every other Haruki Murakami book that I've read. There's always a man, a girl, and a sheep. So Foundation Breaker, which is a 4 CMC creature. I don't have any applicable abilities on here. Ooh, also 4. This one has trample. So I can either go off the trample or basically just go off of the power and toughness, which either way, this one is going to win. Cool, so I'm gonna go with a colorless. Colorless die. You can see that that is number 1. No. Colorless won, finally, because colorless does not win too often, but I rolled a 1 for this, and that gave me a mixed media book. So I'm gonna choose Horror Store. I know it's been on TBRs before. Things roll over when I can't reach my like wish list of what I want to read that month, but this one, I don't think it's like predominantly known for being a mixed media book, although I would say it kind of is. Like, it has some things, I don't want to show too much, but there's like scribbles in here. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. It's got these like opening and end pages that look like a catalog out of IKEA, which is pretty cool. So I'm gonna count this for my mixed media, and I'm thinking that this is gonna read relatively quickly. Ta-da! Orchard Strider, 6 CMC, no applicable abilities, versus Nested Shambler, which is 1 CMC. This automatically loses, which means this one wins. And since it's all green, I'm gonna go ahead and roll a green. Number 3. Green 3 gave us LGBTQIA+ rep, and so that's perfect because an arc that I got and is going to be the first book that I'm reading in March, since I just started it at the end of February and will be probably finishing it by like the 2nd or 3rd of March. In order to put out a full review for it is Wrong Is Not My Name by Erica N. Caldwell. This was sent to me by the publisher, The Feminist Press, and I'm really liking it so far. I think I'm going to have a lot to say about this, but essentially it is about a Black queer woman in the early 2000s who is an artist going to school in New York City and dealing with the loss of her mother, finding her identity along the way in the gap of space that her mother's death has left behind. So it's very insightful. I've had to just sit with some pages of poetry that I found in here and just kind of read them over and over and over again, because I feel like they could be dissected in so many different ways. But I'm really enjoying this, and this is going to be one of the first reviews I think that I put out in March. Specimen Collector, 5 CMC creature, no applicable abilities, versus Solitary Confinement, 3 CMC, and also no applicable abilities. So we're going to go ahead and roll a blue. Six. Then we have Translated, and there's technically 2 books that I could pick for this, but I think I'm going to use my buddy read that I have planned for March with my friend Scylla, because we are going to read Human Acts by Han Kang. This is translated from Korean. Han Kang wrote The Vegetarian, which I read probably like 5 years ago at this point, and it's one of those books where I feel like I've been wanting to reread, because I think even on first pass I didn't fully understand it, but I just knew that I loved it. And now looking back, I'm like, okay, I'm scared to go back, because am I still going to love it? Maybe I'll have more insight with the reading experience that I have, that I'll be able to unpack it better than the first time, I think. But I'm just like kind of scared. I'm like, I want to still love it, and I hope that I do, but I don't know if I will. But this is going to be the second book that I'll have read by this author. But Scylla recently read The Vegetarian and absolutely loved it, so asked me to pick it up, and I said absolutely, let's go. We're going to be reading this together, and also it is fairly short, but I am expecting this to pull on my emotions. So this will probably be the second book I think that I'm going to read in March. Okay, and then 2 more books that are on my TBR for March, though I don't know how I'm going to get to these. One of them is actually a rollover from January because I had to put it down to fulfill other reading requirements. This is The Dark Forest by C.G. Liu. I technically had already started it, but I think I'm going to start it over because, again, I had to pause it to finish a really chunky other books in time for those live shows. But I remember having so much fun with this in the first 70 pages that I read. So my goal is to definitely finish this in March because I need to finish the series so that I can watch it on Netflix. That is the plan. Second book in the 3-Body Problem. Really loved the first one. I thought it was hilarious. Made a whole vlog about it. I'll post the link up there so you can go watch it. And then the other book that I really need to read because it is the book club pick for the Sci-Fi Book Club, which I host with a couple of my friends, is Terra Nullius. I think I'm saying that correctly. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I know that this is, I believe it's a historical fiction and science fiction set in Australia about the colonization of Indigenous peoples in Australia and Australian history. So that sounds really interesting to me. I'm not yet sure if I'm going to get it from my library or if I'm going to buy a copy. I'm going to try it from my library first, and if it ends up being one of those cases where I need to annotate it because it's making me think a lot, then I'm going to just go ahead and get myself a copy of it. But I don't yet have a copy of that, so the cover is here. That live show is always the last Sunday of the month, by the way. So if anyone wants to join us, the Discord is linked in the description below so that you can join us if you want to talk about the book with us or vote on what we're going to read for the next month, because we always open it up for a poll, and this one, the last poll. So that's super exciting. Okay, so I've got this for March plus Terra Nullius. This actually doesn't look too bad. I mean, I average about 4 books a month, like a book a week. But some of these are pretty short, so if I'm reading a short book, I could potentially do 2 short books in 1 week, so it could be possible. My priority list is Wrong Is Not My Name first, and then Human Acts, and then probably this one, and then Terra Nullius, and if I finish Terra Nullius, then I will get to these 2, and hopefully these 2 won't roll over into April. That's the plan. I post videos whenever I feel like it. Thanks for watching. Bye.
On we go.
What's it making, Mr. Wonka? Mr. Wonka worked the factory.